Hello, energy enthusiasts and clean energy fans. I'm thrilled to welcome you to the premiere episode of the new podcast series, Trina Talks. I'm your host, Melissa Cavanagh, Marketing Manager with Trinasolar US. On today's episode, we're kicking things off at the leading edge of PV innovation and highlighting a new technology that slashes BOS costs and drives down LCOE to new lows. In a moment, we'll talk to our very first guest, Bobby Naimool, who is the pre-sales engineering manager at Trinasolar US. And we'll talk to Bobby about eye-opening results of a head-to-head LCOE showdown. But before we plug into that conversation, be sure to hit the like button and be sure that your notepads are ready because this interview could trim millions off your next utility scale build. We've come a long way since the first commercial grid tied arrays ran at 600 volts in the 1990s. In the early 2010s, Trina was part of the industry-wide effort to help raise that ceiling to 1,000 volts. As we moved up to 1,500 volts about a decade ago, Trina was there at the industry forefront once again. Since each of those voltage increases led to BOS costs and LCOE reductions in the past, let's talk to Bobby about how Trina is once again reshaping utility scale solar project economics with its new Vertex N 2000 volt series. Thank you, Bobby, for joining us. Welcome to Trina Talks.
Hey, Melissa. It's great to talk to you again.
Well, we're really happy to have you on our first episode of Trina Talks, and I'm thrilled that we have such an important topic to talk about. I can't wait to dive into the details about the 2000 volt module. But first, I'd love to hear a little bit about you. What have you been doing this summer? Have you been doing anything fun?
Yeah, I've had a quite an interesting summer so far. During the summer, I've been pretty much brushing up on my Spanish. I've been practicing Duolingo over the last couple of months. Um, you know, um, I'm trying to get to a point whereby whenever I travel to, Latin America or the Caribbean, especially with my son, who also loves to go fishing with me, I want to get to a point whereby I don't need a translator with me. I'll be able to get by and communicate with everyone to a point where, they understand me and I understand them. So,
That's amazing. I think we can all take a little bit of inspiration from that. Do you have any recommendations for me or for our viewers? What are your recommendations about that? Do you have any suggestions?
well, coming purely from a beginner standpoint, my recommendation is to just get yourself immersed. If you go to a Spanish-speaking country, just go around where everybody speaks the language. You'll feel lost, you'll feel confused at first, but at some point you're going to pick up a few words and things are going to start making sense. Also, if you go on Netflix, watch a lot of telenovelas, you'll be able to get a grasp of what's going on. Mi español no es perfecto, pero creo que es suficiente para salir adelante. Intento mejorar cada día.
Okay, so what did you just say?
Well, my Spanish, it's not perfect. However, I think it's good enough to get by. I'm trying to get better at it every day. So,
That's and that's all you can do, right? Just keep getting
so,
better every day.
yeah.
So, thank you for sharing that. What about you said you've traveled with your son. I know you
Mhm.
also have a daughter. What is she doing these days?
Yes, I've been helping her get packed up and prepared for college. So basically, she's going to be going to nursing school in New York. So I had to make sure that she's situated, that she knows where she needs to go, what she needs to do, and making sure that she's all prepped and ready to start off her new semester, with success.
Yeah, that's a big step to move your child so far away in New York. So I can relate. I've moved my children to the West Coast separately, but Yeah, it's definitely it's a big step. So congratulations on both of those.
Yeah, thank you.
So let's dig into it, right? Tell us about Trina's latest marvel of engineering innovation and this LCOE assessment.
Well, over the last year and a half, we've been doing a lot of LCOE studies, and in particular, we've been doing a lot of focus on the 2000-volt module. You know, right now, the industry where it's at right now on the utility side, a lot of systems follow a 1500-volt system architecture. However, we do believe that in the near future, just as we had moved from 1000 volts systems to 1500-volt systems, we believe that 2000-volt systems is going to be the next system standard for design for utility scale projects. We're not there yet, but we're headed towards that direction. So the best thing is to prepare and introduce the module before the industry heads in that direction.
So after working with Black and Veatch and reviewing the modeling data, what was the single biggest takeaway from the LCOE assessment?
Well, there were a couple of cost savings that was observed. So we when we ran we ran two PV simulations. One was for a 2000-volt system design, and the other one was for a 1500-volt system design. The 2000-volt system design used Trina's Vertex N PV module. Immediate cost savings that was observed when we ran the comparison. There were fewer inverters that's going to be needed for this system, and also these 2000-volt PV strings, since they are a lot longer in series, there's going to be fewer PV strings that's going to be needed for the plant size for the same system design. You would require 25% fewer inverters for the entire system, and also 25% less of balance of system gear and PV wiring um, within the DC PV array. And in addition, there would be some capital expense cost savings for the 2000-volt system.
So speaking of savings, can you break down the cost advantages for us?
Of course. So the model that we ran, what we observed in our calculations, we observed about 17.5% of inverter cost savings because of the fewer inverters that's going to be needed. There's a 8.2% savings in the balance of system capital expense costs. Overall, for the construction, overall capital expense was a $2.3 million difference between the 2000-volt system and the 1500-volt system. And overall, when we take a look at the energy production and performance, we observe a levelized cost of energy drop of about 86 cents per megawatt hour. So basically, it's a drop from $54.66 to $53.80 per megawatt hour. All of this with virtually the same annual energy being injected into the grid for both two systems.
Wow. Okay. Let's all get our heads wrapped around all of that information. Why are customers so excited about the voltage jump? What can they expect from a day to day operational basis once they get their hands on this Vertex N 2000-volt module?
Well, beyond the immediate capex savings, this also means fewer skids that you would need to maintain, on the job site. Uh, in addition, there's going to be shorter trench runs to run the wiring conduits from the array field onto the inverter. There's going to be lower resistive losses as a result of fewer DC wiring within the field. And there's more design headroom for larger or fixed string inverters, depending on what's being used. So with that freed up land space, there's a lot more wiggle room to do more applications within the field if the EPC wishes to include an energy storage aspect for the job site, there's going to be additional room for that developer to play with.
Okay, so Trina's Vertex N 2000-volt module is the industry's first 210R type panel to get UL 61730 certification. For the folks signing the project checks, what does that stamp mean to them?
Well, UL, Underwriters Laboratory, they run a lot of very intense and brutal damp heat testing, potential induced degradation tests, and high potential tests on the equipment to prove that the glass encapsulant and junction box could handle the sustained stress at that higher voltage at 2000 volts. So what does that mean for end users? For end users, that means that there's going to be third-party validated safety, durability, and bankability at that new voltage class of PV modules.
So, what's next for mainstream 2000 volts adoption? What hurdles are in the way? What challenges do you foresee with this?
Well, just as we had made that jump from 1,000 volts to 1,500 volts system architecture, there was a lot of skepticism and doubts, between entities, uh, during that time. So we anticipate that there's going to be the same type of hurdles and skepticism to make that jump from 1,500 volt to 2,000 volt systems. So there will be some time, and I guess there's going to be a learning process to adopt the codes and the standards by entities for the 2000 volt system architecture. And there's going to also be this type of push for promotion of pilot projects for 2000 volt system designs. But with standard bodies already updating, the NEC 600, 690 and the IEC 61730, full supply chains, it's going to take some time to build out. However, I am optimistic that at some point we're going to get there in the industry.
Well, I don't see how we could not get there. It seems like this is a game changer, and it is just waiting to be adopted broadly across the industry. So I just want to thank you again. This was an amazing conversation, just a short talk, a short amount of time, but man, did you pack in the information for us. So thank you again for joining us, Bobby.
Thank you, Melissa.
And for everyone listening, I want to let you know that you'll have the opportunity to check in on Bobby if you're attending RE Plus in Las Vegas this year. He will be in the poster hall. He has created a amazing technical display that you'll be able to check in and ask Bobby questions in person if you're interested. So, again, thank you very much, Bobby. It's truly amazing how fast Trina Solar continues to innovate energy solutions to power a net zero future. Now, by combining the 620-watt panel and ultra high 22.7% efficiency in the 2000-volt system, solar developers can unlock unprecedented project economics while simplifying design and installations. If you want to learn more about Trina's Vertex N 2000 volt, follow the link in the description to contact our local US sales team. Thank you for joining us. We can't wait to share more Trina Talks with you. If you've enjoyed today's episode and would like to see more, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and share this video with your project team. And stay tuned for our next episodes that will be recorded live in Trina's booth at RE Plus on Tuesday and Wednesday at 11:30 a.m. and 3 p.m. Until next time, may your LCOE be low, your efficiency high, and your systems optimized. I'm Melissa Cavanagh, and this is Trina Talks, where we have short conversations that speak volumes. Take care, everyone.